Before we get started here, I have to say one thing and one thing only. I will not tolerate anybody calling me a bandwagon. I will not. I have seen too many things for this team. I've seen the Kawhi Leonard injury in the Western Conference Finals, my first real dose of depression. I saw DeJounte Murray get traded, and I cried when the Spurs won the lottery when they got Victor Wembanyama, and that's just a handful of things. I've seen Jonathan Simmons, I've seen Andre Miller. I can go bar for bar on role players. So I will not be called a bandwagon. I will not tolerate it, because at this point, all it takes is a backup center before the Spurs are in contention. And I think that they are about to enter that window, because they were a absolute winner in the NBA draft. A+ home run, slam dunk, whatever you want to call it. The Spurs absolutely crushed their draft on all levels, starting off with Dylan Harper. Obviously, this was kind of just one of those picks that you just walked into. We know that Cooper Flagg was going to go first overall, so it's not like it was a hard decision at 2. They didn't even really think about selecting anyone else. Apparently, they only worked out Dylan Harper. There was no need for an Ace Bailey or a VJ Edgecombe. They only wanted Dylan Harper, and I think that is the perfect scenario for this team. Harper is just one of those guys that you do not pass up on. It doesn't matter that they have De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle already on this team. When you have a prospect like Harper, who goes number 1 in most drafts, and it just happened to be the fact that he was in the Cooper Flagg draft, you do not pass up on this kid. Or else you end up in a situation in 2020 where the Spurs passed up on Tyrese Halliburton because they had DeJounte Murray, Derek White, and Lonnie Walker already on the roster. Now, if I were Mitch Johnson, I would probably start Fox and Castle together and let Harper be the 6th man. I think that is probably the most ideal situation in terms of completing out the roster. It solves that problem at the backup point guard, which the Spurs have, and where they're not really sure what direction they're going to head in. But realistically, Fox, Castle, and Harper are going to start together. I don't think that is going to be necessarily a bad thing. I think there is a little bit of confusion. Stephon Castle is going to get moved to the 3, which is fine. He is not going to be the true point guard of this franchise long term, and I don't think he was drafted that way. He played the 2 of the majority last season, and that's where he thrived, playing next to Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox. And moving him to the 3 is going to be just fine. It is not going to change the way that he has to play the game at all. He's going to have the same role that he did last season. He's just going to be at the 3 instead of the 2. And then it really comes down to just how is Dylan Harper going to fit at the 2? Because this is a very ball-dominant point guard. Is that a bad thing? No. But he is arguably the best downhill scorer of this draft, and you have to have a lot of isolation ball when dealing with a downhill scorer. He's listed at 6'6", but he then measured at 6'4" in the combine, but he's got a big body. He's a lot bigger for a point guard. It's not really known. And the fact that he knows how to use his frame is something that really makes him an extremely polished prospect, and that is why he is going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with on the offensive end, and that is why he was a force to be reckoned with at Rutgers. I do think that letting Harper be the 6th man, that just lets him get his feet comfortable against real NBA competition. If you put him out there against second units, he's going to cook. And I think the Spurs could have a solid second unit with him, Vassell, Carter Bryant, who I'll get into later, Keldon Johnson, and whatever backup center they choose to go get, maybe Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sohan. It just depends on the rotation they work with. But if you let Dylan Harper be the backup point guard, you're going to put him out there with some solid guys, and he's going to have to compete against second units. That is going to let him get comfortable in the NBA. It's going to let him find his rhythm, find his groove, find the best way that he plays, and it's honestly going to amplify his numbers. If you have Fox and Castle running the starting unit, and then you put Dylan Harper out there, sheesh, man, that's disgusting. Mitch Johnson is in his official rookie season is going to have to figure out how to balance, 3 elite guards. Out of the 3, Castle is definitely going to do the least amount of ball handling, and we already know that. But to balance out who's going to run the offense, it's actually extremely simple. If you're going to start all 3 of them, you pull Harper first early. That's what you do. You get him on the bench maybe 5 minutes into the game, and then you run Fox and Castle together and then whatever else in the front court. But point being is there you pull Dylan Harper first, and then you let Fox and Castle run it. Then when Castle or Fox needs a breather, you put Harper in. And then you still have two guards out there. So if Fox needs a breather, you put Harper in for Fox. If Castle needs a breather, you put Harper in for Castle. The point is, you're going to basically just rotate these three the entire game. You are going to have one of Fox, Harper, and Castle on the court at all times, and there is no reason why the Spurs should not be doing that next season. Harper at the 2 is going to be a little bit of an interesting experiment because, like I said, at Rutgers, he did all the primary ball handling, so he's going to have to adjust to switching that role a little bit because Fox is going to be the primary ball handler, and I think we learned that from last season. Once they tried to run Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox lineups, it did not work. They tried to have Chris Paul be the starting point guard and let Fox run the 2. It just didn't work. Fox is going to be at his best when the ball in his hands. Castle does not need the ball in his hands to be good. Yes, when the ball is in his hands, good things are going to happen, but he is going to generate space and generate offense by cutting. He's going to do good things without the ball in his hands. Fox needs the ball in his hands to do good things. I'm not saying he can't do it without the ball in his hands, but that is where Fox is going to thrive at his best, and Castle thrives without the ball in his hands just as much as he does with the ball. So, and then just comes down to how Harper is going to play off ball. And I think he can do it. And I think especially from the three-point line, that is really going to be where he thrives. He shot 36.8% from beyond the arc on catch and shoot threes because shooting is definitely one of his bigger concerns coming into his rookie season, more specifically just shooting off the dribble and shot creation. He can score. He can shoot. He just struggles with it, and he needs to get more consistent at it. He's still a great scorer. He can still shoot the ball, and he can still create with the ball in his hands. It's just something he struggled with a little bit at Rutgers, but there is all the talent in the world to become one of the best isolation scorers in the draft class. What this all comes down to and why they selected Harper is because they believe that he can be a true career-long running mate for Wemby. I know that they just traded for De'Aaron Fox, and he is a all-NBA caliber point guard who they traded for in his prime, and they traded for him by giving up a bag of half-eaten chips and some picks that I don't even know what happened with Sear. They were not valuable picks. Wemby has the ability to become a MVP caliber player. He really looked like a top 7 player in the league before he had his blood clot, and that was really terrible of how that happened, and it took away letting us see Fox and Wemby run together last season because Wemby got the blood clot after just 5 games of them playing together, and then they went ahead and shut Fox down for the rest of the season. So they took away what could have been the first look at this elite dynamic duo. So you're still going to run with Fox and Wemby for years to come, but Harper has the ability to be what Tony Parker was to Tim Duncan. Because De'Aaron Fox is 27. He will be 28 later. And still, for the NBA, that's relatively young. But Fox has already played 8 seasons. He's going into his 9th year of the NBA. That's how early he came into the league. So Fox is not going to be around forever. He's not going to play another 10 years. You could probably get a good 5, 6, maybe 7 out of him. But Fox is not going to be around for a dynasty. Maybe they could win some chips together, but he's not going to be around for a Timmy, Tony, Manu-esque run. Harper can be that guy. He can be that Tony to Tim Duncan. And they can recreate what the dominance was. Harper and Wemby have that. And Castle can be their Manu. Like I said, Harper was a pick that the Spurs just walked into. But let's not forget about the steal of the draft at Carter Bryant at 14. What can this kid not do? Genuinely, what can he not do? One of the biggest things that the Spurs needed to acquire this offseason was a 3-and-D wing. They've been needing it for years, and they freaking got it with Carter Bryant. His stat lines are not eye-popping. When you look and see 6 points a game, you think this guy's terrible. But he had a very limited role at Arizona, especially at the start of his freshman season. He just then became too good to leave off the floor. He only averaged 19 minutes a game, and he only averaged 4.8 shot attempts. So that tells you the limited amount of touches that Bryant was getting during his freshman season, but that does not take away from what he can do. This dude is just a naturally gifted shooter, both off the catch and with the ball in his hands. He shot 46% last season, including 37.1% from 3, and he is just going to mesh well with the Spurs as a floor spacer who can just let it fly. And the Spurs need that. They lack three-point shooting, they lack defensive intensity, and they lack length, especially on the second unit. That's what Carter Bryant is. That's what this kid can be. His jump shot thrives off the fact that he has a 7-foot wingspan, and that makes it extremely hard for defenders to contest his shot. It's a very fluent jumper. There is nothing bad about it. His base is extremely solid. His hip stays straight. His release is pure. He is one of the best catch and shoot threats in the entire draft. And this dude is an athlete. He can jump out the freaking gym. The Spurs have the point guards I talked about already. They got Fox, Harper, and Castle, and they love their job because they're going to get to throw lobs to this super tall 7'5" dude. But they're going to love their jobs even more because they're going to throw to a guy like Carter Bryant, who had a 40-inch vertical. This dude is a freak of nature. He can rise up. He had plenty of posters last season at Arizona, plenty of highlight reel dunks. So he's going to be an amazing lob threat, not because of the fact that only is he just athletic, but he is a very solid off-ball navigator. He knows how to navigate through cuts. He sees the floor. He knows how to find those open lanes, and that was something he really thrived at Arizona. He had plenty of lobs just where he was cutting off a corner, and I think that is something he is going to do a lot for the Spurs this season. And like I said, 3-and-D wing. Defensively, this dude is just an absolute chaos threat for opposing teams. He's got all the right instincts just to force the turnovers in the passing lane. He only averaged 1 steal per game last season, but he knows how to step up. He knows when to make the right reads just to cause havoc in the passing lane, get a tip, get a turnover. That's what is going to thrive his offense because of the fact that he's going to create havoc in the passing lanes. And if he creates that, then he's going to create transition opportunities for the Spurs. And I think he's really going to thrive as a transition threat, whether it's lob or with the ball in his hands. Kid can move, and so defense is going to turn into offense when you're working with Carter Bryant, and he's an extremely just pesky defender. He plays with all the effort in the world, and that says everything I need to know about his game. Yes, he's got all the tools, and as a perimeter defender, this dude just locks in, and there's nothing else to say about it. I mean, he goes stride for stride with isolation defenders, very light on his feet, keeps his hips straight towards the ball handler. So I'm telling you, there's so much to like about Carter Bryant. And he is going to fill out this 3-and-D role to absolute perfection. And he was arguably, I think he's going to be the steal of the draft. And there's nothing else I can say about it. Now it just looks like they're done. They did not make any picks in the second round unless there's a trade that happened while I'm filming this video that I don't know about. But they traded the 38th pick before their draft started, and so they could have traded up if someone like they had their eye on someone, maybe Maxine Renon or Ryan Kalkenberger. But in my opinion, I think the best way for the Spurs to address the backup center situation is just by attacking it in free agency. There are going to be plenty of options available. My personal favorite is Brook Lopez. They can get him on the MLE, something maybe like a 2-year, $16 million contract, $8 million annually, maybe even cheaper. I think Brook Lopez is my favorite target, but there's still a handful of guys. You know, there is Clint Capella. There is Naz Reid. He is a big question mark. He's a really big question mark. It depends on he's a restricted free agent, so what is Minnesota going to offer him? But I absolutely love Naz Reid. I'm pretty sure he won the 6th Man of the Year. If not, he was the runner-up. But Naz Reid is an extremely capable, very talented backup center that could play extremely valuable minutes, but I doubt Minnesota lets him go. And especially since he's a restricted free agent, those ones are a little bit harder to come by. They'll just let anyone else offer him a contract. And if they don't want to match, they don't have to, but if it's cheap enough, they will. And then there's also like Bobby Portis or Luke Cormette. Those are just backup centers that the Spurs desperately need. I think they have plenty of options, but if they go fill out the rest of this roster, they're going to contend. I think there's only 6 teams in the West right now that are definitively better than the Spurs. There's another 3 that I think could be better than the Spurs. So the Spurs could be better than them. Those are toss-ups. I think this is finally going to be the year that the Spurs end their 6th-season playoff drought. And overall, it just starts with this draft and adding the building blocks to the foundation already with this absolute A-plus steal of a draft. If you guys do think that the Spurs are going to contend, then make sure you drop a like and subscribe because we're going to be talking Spurs basketball all off season, especially when free agency comes up. That's always what we do here on Ty Talk Sports. As you guys can see, we got a new studio. We basically just turned everything around, and now I got a really great setup. I got a PC, so content is going to be coming year-round, especially while I'm in school. That was the biggest thing about getting this PC is I can now make content year-round. So there is going to be plenty of things to talk about with Ty Talk Sports. So if you did enjoy, hit the like, subscribe if you're new, turn on that notification bell so you never miss a video. And until next time, this is Ty Talk Sports signing off. See y'all.